Why was that one guy fired from your work? VAC residential installer. Had a co-worker take a nap in the customer's house. In the customer's bed. Was confused why he was fired. Work at a payroll company. We had an employee who switched like 20 direct deposits to her own account. It was all very traceable and she was caught like later that day. Well, there was the new CFO who was shown the door at lunchtime on his first day. Then the stock email about do not use the corporate internet to visit inappropriate websites was sent out. He spent the entire time playing a game on his own handheld console instead of testing the game we were doing overtime to actually test. Got very angry at being let go. He claimed he was in the National Search and Rescue Brigade, which is entirely volunteer-based. They are sorta like our troops, they get perks and can't be fired if they get called out and so on. He skipped work all the time claiming it was because he was called in. One day someone from the office decided to check if he was and turned out he lied about the whole thing. I'm pretty sure he got blacklisted by the entire city, which would explain why I haven't heard anything about him for years. Stealing the boss's Pop-Tarts. She watched Netflix at her desk and took naps. With the volume up. Her desk was in the middle of the office, there was no hiding. She also fucked up a lot. He left to kill his wife. We had to fire him because it was an unexcused absence. He did not inform his manager he was leaving. Worked at a publication. Hired a new guy who was super nice and everybody liked him. Within a week, found he was plagiarizing everything he wrote. Immediately gone, no questions asked. He was caught stealing cash from work and spending it on hookers. Turns out he had terminal cancer and wanted to go out with a bang. He was keeping sick and injured birds under his desk that he found on his lunch breaks and using binoculars to watch people in other offices. Using government funds to see his mistress. Had to fire someone just a few weeks ago. He was a new hire, and in 3 weeks he called out 5 times. I wrote him up for poor attendance, and just 2 days later he was a no-show, no call when we had 2 deliveries going out, driver vac equipment. Left me no choice. Shagging a temp, who worked part-time but he signed her timesheet off as full-time hours. Salesman addicted to frequent flyer points. He'd book flights with 4 segments each way, meaning extra nights in hotels and basically doing almost no work 2 days a week. He was told repeatedly to book direct flights but just wouldn't. 2 kids in college and they finally fired him. Harry the special needs guy. Someone at work introduced him into porn Playboy mag in a truck. Harry was never the same. Harry kept whacking off in front of the women in the office and in the warehouse. The boss knew that Harry was corrupted by the Playboy and really tried to fix the situation, as it was important for Harry to stay employed. I guess in the early 2000s a boss could get away with this sort of thing. Harry's life went really downhill after he got fired, really sad, and it explains why the boss tried to fix the situation despite the intolerable things he was doing. Guy had anger problems and one day went OFF, screaming about how someone stole something from his backpack in the break room. Manager asked what was missing. My pot and grinder. Funniest part is after he was fired for bringing it to work and clearly stoned, offered him a drug test but he didn't see the point. Face with tears of joy, he left the building, only to find his pot and grinder on the sidewalk around the corner from the store where he had spaced it out after getting high on break. Face with tears of joy, face with tears of joy, face with tears of joy. Worked at Chuck E. Cheese. Had to dress in the costumes and stand on the side of the road waving at passers-by. July 4th weekend. 90+ degrees outside. Dude had enough. Turned Chucky's head around backwards, turned away from the traffic and started waving his long pink tail at the cars. Edit. This was 4th of July weekend on Memorial Drive in Stone Mountain, Georgia. Before cell phones. Hundreds and hundreds of vehicles came by before the calls started pouring in. One of our janitors survived a boat fire during vacation, second-degree burns on her arms and legs. So she went on sick leave. Next day she was fired for economic reasons, month or so after that the company filed for bankruptcy. Jerking off and watching porn in his office. Kicker was he was a clinician for sexually reactive adolescent boys. Flipped out and attacked the manager at the front desk, had to be escorted out by police. Few months later I saw in the paper that he'd been arrested for threatening a neighbor with a knife. Can't say I was shocked. People were fired from my job only for gross acts like 1. Taking a fire extinguisher and spitzing it all over the office. 2. Breaking the glass part of a door owing to some minor frustration. I was in a civil service job. It's very difficult for people to get fired, unless they really screw up. He was batshit crazy. One day, the guy decided to take off all his clothes in the locker room, started running around naked and set a table on fire. Guy was subdued, arrested, and fired. He took the company car home without authorization. That wasn't enough to get fired. It was late and he lived 10 minutes away in Brooklyn. He used company car to pick up his brother in Queens. That wasn't enough to get fired. He hit a pedestrian while picking up his brother in Queens with the company car that he took without authorization. That might do it. He fled the scene of the accident after hitting a pedestrian while picking up his brother with the company car that he took without authorization. He got fired so fast. Called a black colleague his desert princess. She did not approve, vocally. After a few incidents she got upset. In response the colleague doubled down. "What are you gonna do, princess? Punish me?" He crawled over the floor begging to be spanked. Worked at a theater. He kept disappearing when things got busy. We thought maybe he was just going into the theaters to clean like we always do, but he'd be gone for long periods with nobody having seen him. We eventually found him sleeping in a janitor's closet. Ate another co-worker's lunch. There was a box of chicken in the break room refrigerator. It was one of those combos with mashed potatoes and a biscuit. There were cameras in the break room, so when the employee reported his lunch missing they reviewed the footage. After confronting the lunch bandit, his excuse was it was abandoned chicken. Stealing a car from the dealership where he worked as a salesperson. Yes, he showed up to work the next day with the car as if it was totally fine. GM did not press charges, but he sure as shit fired the fuck out of him. Using chicken broth as urine for his drug test. Kept leaving his classroom of moderate to severely handicapped kids to go score drugs. At a grocery store. Guy told the store manager to kiss his ass. At an internet install company. Guy was in training. He was set to ride along with his trainer. Guy would log his hours every day, but he never met with trainer. Company asked trainer how he was doing and trainer said he stopped showing up X amount of days ago. Gave Indian scammers access to her computer and, therefore, to the company servers. I have no idea if there were any financial losses, but the CEO was pissed. We had a security training workshop the week after that and the way people treat sensible information. My God. Kept missing work because he slept in after staying up all night playing WoW. Also we had another guy fired because he sexually harassed literally every female at our office. This was also like 2 months after he had just gotten married. He tried to choke a scrum master for asking why his work had no updates for about a week. I've known two. First was uploading CP to the internet using company IT equipment. A girl from HR posted his P45 through a gap in the police car window as he was driven away. Everyone thought he was off, but we had no idea how off he was. Second used company funds to bring the secretary he was having an affair with to a meeting team building event in London. He's just been promoted to director, so he flushed his $250,000 par job, his stock options and his marriage down the shifter in one go.